Welcome to episode 52 of Grace and Steel. I'm Kevin Steele.
And I'm Kevin Michael Grace.
Early listeners to this podcast will know that we've been discussing the alt-right since our first episode on August 24th last year, back when the show was called From Under the Rubble. Few people had noticed that various dissident elements, dissonant to the prevailing culture in general, and establishment conservatism in particular, were starting to coalesce into some kind of force. But we noticed. Almost a year to the day after that first podcast, on August 25th, Hillary Clinton gave a speech attacking the alt-right. Suddenly everyone was writing and talking about what we had been discussing for a year. Now, Hillary tried to cast the alt-right in the form of the KKK and labeled it racist, homophobic, and misogynist. All entirely predictable. But of course, her attack gave the movement a great deal of exposure. It shone a light, and rather than shrink from the spotlight, its members used this opportunity to define what had been, until that moment, an ill-defined and disparate movement. Truly, the alt-right had made it. So we're going to take this opportunity to look at some of those new definitions, maybe give our own, and talk about who we are. First of all, Kevin, have we truly made it? Have we indeed come up from under the rubble?
Yeah, I suppose we have, except the question is, what do you mean we, Kimosabi?
Oh, I'm still under there, am I?
No, I don't mean in that sense. I mean, what does the alt-right mean?
Ah, yes. Everybody else seems to be defining it.
So we're going to take our stab at it?
Well,
this week?
I guess we have to, since we have been covering it, and all of a sudden we're like thrust into the international spotlight.
Yeah.
You never told me it was going to be like this. You told me we'd just talk about the alt-right and then we'd go on to something else. And here we are being mentioned in the presidential campaign.
Well, it's one of those things about whether it's a breath mint or a candy mint.
Okay.
My argument, I tend to favor the argument that it can be both.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also tempted to say that the alt-right is the opposite of what Conservatism Inc. movement conservatism wants. And I really think that fits the bill.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. Because what is it that Conservative Inc. wants, movement conservatism wants, that's good?
Mm-hmm.
I would say nothing. Nothing. That they're globalists. They want us, they're swamping us with immigration. They are engaged in the cultural cringe. Even their defense of capitalism is now worthless because they are not defending the capitalism, that golden age from the end of the Second World War to, say, the mid-1970s, when ordinary people in North America generally lived good lives. Mm-hmm. As we've seen, since the rise of Trump, they really don't like people without money. Mm-hmm. They really think that this is a moral failing. And they really think that these people are scum. Mm-hmm. And they deserve it.
That's become pretty clear, yeah. So you would say that alt-right is best defined for the time being as just in opposition to...
Oh, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, because we're going to look at lists here, all right?
Oh,
I know I'm making this sound terribly exciting, right?
Yes.
We're going to go through some lists.
And you better not be on it.
But there's a short list here, and the short list is, think of whatever George Will or Jonah Goldberg or in Canada Andrew Coyne say, advocates, and then just take the opposite position, and that puts you in good stead.
Okay, that's too easy, I can see.
Well, I wanted to start with this graphic, which I believe you have,
right?
Which was created by, or at least sponsored by, the Right Stuff, Chateau Hartiste, and Ramsey Paul.
Right, the one you tweeted.
What does the alt-right want? Yes, and we'll go through the list. Short. Not tall. It's a short list. That's why I liked it, short and sweet. Strong, high-trust communities for our people. And then we reject immigration and favor homogenous societies. Number 2, protection from third world outsourcing. We support tariffs designed to protect domestic industry. 3, protection from the globalist elite. We reject super PACs and foreign elites purchasing elections. 4, healthy relationships between men and women. We respect truthfulness regarding sexual differences. 5, protection from globalist pollution. We support regulations designed to preserve our natural heritage. 6, protection of cultural diversity. We reject multiculturalism and favor separate cultures. 7, protection from forced associations. We reject being forced to betray our beliefs and support what we believe is degenerate. 8, freedom of honest debates, i.e. history, race, sex. We reject political correctness and cultural Marxism. And finally, 9, protection from international corporate oppression. We support nationalist economies with a focus on local industry and small businesses.
This sounds like racism to me.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. I noticed that there's nothing about religion in there, spirituality or whatever. I mean, not explicitly.
Right.
You know, but seems like a pretty good list to me. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good start right there. I think it's pretty good. It's a lot more positive than just being against something, which is kind of where I was. I was just kind of in opposition to a lot of things. At least that's where I thought that I was. And now that these other people are defining it, it's becoming a little clearer even for me. I mean, I was kind of joking earlier when I said, we were just going to discuss the alt-right and then move on, and now we're suddenly in the middle of this international debate. But it's kind of like that for me. I was, hanging out on the right, was a neocon for a while, and then started looking around at my own circumstances and those people around me, and I saw that things weren't really improving. So it was all negative. Now these guys are starting to frame it into something a little more positive.
Well, I mean, the charge that, you people are negative. Mm-hmm. Well, it's a phony charge. It's often a phony charge because in opposing something, or particularly a list of things, one can generally infer what that person is in favor of. Mm-hmm. Clearly if one is opposed to globalism, then one is in favor of, if not autarky, then at least the economy being, and the levers of the economy being much closer to home.
Right, yeah, okay. Well, of course, these kind of definitions, and we'll probably touch on this later in the show, not so much now, but they do lead to these purity spirals where everybody starts arguing about what the real definition is of alt-right.
I don't want I really don't want a manifesto in the sense of, like the 39 articles of the Anglican Church, well, you got to tick all those boxes. Mm-hmm. Unless, and then if you don't, you're not a member. Yeah. I don't really think that gains us anything, really. I mean, there's going to be disagreements. I mean, you notice that in the list of 9 here, it doesn't really touch on neoconservatism, on these pointless, stupid wars, or we regard truthfulness as regarding sexual differences. There's no Kinderküche, etc. Hey, women, back into the kitchen.
Okay.
Take off those shoes. Hurry up and get pregnant. I mean, there's none of that.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, some people feel stronger on these things than others do.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good list.
That's a good list to start from. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm not going to be the one that's going to be adding points or subtracting them. I'd like to, I'm going to watch the debate. But, this sums up where I think I'm headed right now. It makes me, think that these are the kind of things I'd like to see in a leader or a political party. Yeah, I can go with this. It's pretty strong. Of course, when the opposition starts asking you to define what some of these things mean, of course, they're going to try to goad you into the positions that they will decry as racist, homophobic, and
we'll
misogynist.
Get to that. We'll get to that when we get to Hillary Clinton's response. Oh, yeah. And I'll just have to...
She didn't respond to this, though.
Well, not specifically, no. Well, I'll just have to echo what our friend James Fulford said at VDare. Thanks, Hillary.
Yeah.
For making us all famous, for making us the alternative, the edgy alternative.
Yeah, or as that one guy at Radix put it, what was she thinking?
Well, apparently a bunch of rebels have adopted an alternative position. And of course, that never appeals to young people or to, women.
Yeah, and they've got some ships and they're attacking our Death Star. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
We're a plucky band.
Well, we're still on the subject of taxonomy. Let's look at Vox Day's definition, which he published on August 24th. We'll have all these things in the links,
of course,
to the show, so that we don't leave anyone behind.
What the alt-right is, yes, that's...
Yeah, the alt-right is of the political right in both the American and the European sense of the term. Socialists are not alt-right, progressives are not alt-right, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. 2, the alt-right is an alternative to the mainstream conservative movement in the USA that is nominally encapsulated by Russell Kirk's 10 conservative principles. Yes, we touched on that already. 3, the alt-right is not a defensive attitude and rejects the concept of noble and principled defeat. It was a forward-thinking philosophy of offense. I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Because we'd bet on the wrong pony for all these years. Mm-hmm. The idea that this conservative movement was, they were fighting for us, and they weren't fighting for us. They were fighting for themselves.
Yeah.
And so long as they lost but got paid, and it's like, oh, yeah, we'll invite you on our TV show because you're Jonah Goldberg from that magazine that nobody reads anymore. Anyway, moving on.
No, well, Vox Day often talks an awful lot about military strategy. So I think the reason that this is so high up in his list is because he puts great importance on it, and I think rightly so. So it's just a comment.
Yeah. Okay. Number 4, the alt-right believes Western civilization is the pinnacle of human achievement. It supports its 3 foundational pillars: Christianity, the European nations, and the Greco-Roman legacy. Okay. There's already been some argument about this, that you have these neo-pagans,
right.
People, well, not all of these people believe that Adolf Hitler was a misunderstood genius, But this idea, and it's an old idea on the right, you see it in Nietzsche, you also see it in Winston Churchill, for that matter, that Christianity is a sissified Jewish religion. Which is something that I reject, as Vox Day rejects. I mean, it's difficult to think of Western... Well, let's put it this way. It's impossible to think of Western civilization without Christianity. But
it's kind of there at the beginning. So
yeah, present at the creation. Okay, so 5, the alt-right is openly and avowedly nationalist. It supports all nationalisms and the right of all nations to exist, homogeneous and unadulterated by foreign invasion and immigration. 6, the alt-right is anti-globalist. 7, the alt-right is anti-equalitarian. It rejects the idea of equality for the same reason it rejects the ideas of unicorns and leprechauns. I think this is very important because the conservative movement is hell-bent on equalitarianism. You even hear this pernicious nonsense from them about equality of opportunity. Oh, we're not looking for equality of results. We're looking for equality of opportunity. Well, as no less than Russell Kirk pointed out many years ago, if they really believed in equality of opportunity, they'd have to find the good parents and take the children away from the good parents. Because, the children who grow up, not wanting things and having parents who care about them, parents who introduce them to culture, literature, etc. Well, obviously, you've lost equality of opportunity right from the beginning, haven't you?
Right, so it's the giant kibbutz.
Yeah, this is a Procrustean notion. It's equality of opportunity. Okay, the alt-right is, I have trouble with this word, scientific.
Did he make that word up? I'm not sure. He uses it.
I've never seen it before.
Yeah.
If you read Vox Day, you know that he, like many other people, are deeply suspicious of so many of the conclusions that, quote, science, unquote, has come to. I mean, science is corrupt. It's become corrupt.
That's been actually scientifically proven when they've tried to replicate the results of various experiments.
Well, yeah. Now we read hilariously that all of these scientific experiments are now corrupted by Excel errors. Okay. Number 9, the alt-right believes identity leads to culture, which leads to politics. Number 10, the alt-right is opposed to the rule or domination of any native ethnic group by another, particularly in the sovereign homelands of the dominated peoples. 11, the alt-right understands that diversity plus proximity equals war. 12, the alt-right doesn't care what you think of it. I think that this is really important, too. this idea, this is going to be a problem from now. All right.
From now for us or for the alt-right?
Well, no, for everybody, for the alt-right. I probably mentioned this on the show before, that the death of the conservative movement as a good thing began on the night in November 1980 when Reagan was elected president. Because all of these trimmers and, frankly, many thousands of shits set out for Washington, D.C., because they simply wanted to be on the winning side. And all of the good things that conservatism was going to accomplish, well, specifically in the American example, they were going to get rid of the Department of Education. Well, that never happened. Now we have No Child Left Behind, brought to us by a Republican and so-called conservative president.
Right. Equalitarianism.
Yes, exactly. So, doesn't care what you think of it. This is important. We believe what we believe, and if these people on the outside like it, good. If they find it scary, well, maybe they can find something else to believe in.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's something we touched on early in the history of this podcast about a year ago when we started talking about the use of the labels by the left, the cultural Marxists, to shame people. And once you get past those, you start to shore up your own beliefs. It was we named them racist being the atom bomb, misogynist, homophobic, that type of thing. So that this, I guess, takes it to a higher level. But that was kind of what we were talking about, what they were talking about a year ago.
So, number 13, the alt-right rejects international free trade and the free movement of peoples that free trade requires. This is very good from Vox Day. Because the second follows the first, that we now look at people as merely human capital. So we think nothing of, taking these jobs from here and sending them halfway around the world, and taking people from halfway around the world and bringing them here. As Trump's new advisor, what's his name, Stephen Bannon, said that America is more than a spreadsheet.
With lots of Excel errors.
Yes. Number 14, the alt-right believes we must secure the existence of white people and a future for white children. Oh, my God, how shocking. The example of white supremacy. No, it's not an example of white supremacy. We do not intend to be genocided out of existence. It's that simple. And to put it crudely, when we talk about the West, we built it. You people who are coming here now and telling us how terrible, terrible, terrible we are, you didn't build it. You had nothing to do with it.
That's a line from Obama. You didn't build that.
Yeah. Well, the idea that the parasites giving us lectures in airs and graces is absolutely hilarious. It's also infuriating. But this leads to
both? Okay.
Yeah, it can be both. Like so many things, it can be both.
We're not down to the end yet.
Number 15, the alt-right does not believe in the general supremacy of any race, nation, people, or subspecies, or as I like to say, horses for courses. Mm-hmm. Number 16, the alt-right is a philosophy that values peace among the various nations of the world and opposes wars to impose the values of one nation upon another, as well as efforts to exterminate individual nations through war, genocide, immigration, or genetic assimilation. Then he has a too long, didn't read summary. The alt-right is a Western ideology that believes in science, history, reality, and the right of a genetic nation to exist and govern itself in its own interest.
Okay.
Now, reality, I think, is the key here. Because if we look at the conservative movement, and the conservative movement is based on equalitarianism. The conservative movement is based on scale. The conservative movement is based on this idea of choice being the highest virtue. But what if people make bad choices? Who are we to say what choices are bad? No, we are going to say that some choices are bad. For instance, choices which are based on the assumption that men and women are essentially equal and the same. These are bad choices. Choices based on the assumption, that people from, Rwanda are essentially the same as, well, in terms of quotidian reality at any rate, of people from Canada and the United States. These are bad choices.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, I do like this list. And I do like the order of the list as well. You did send me you did send me a reply to this critique of it.
Well, no, I thought that we would start with the big critique, the thing that started it off, which is Hillary.
Back to her speech, Clinton's, the big speech.
Her speech, yeah.
Okay, yes, this was
Hillary's speech.
Nevada. Okay.
Yeah.
Reno.
Yeah, Reno, Nevada.
Shot a man in Reno.
Yeah, that bulwark of civilization, Reno.
Or as I joked, they went there to bury Todd in the desert.
Yeah. Why don't you explain the joke? I quite like it. I think it needs some explanation.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was this supposedly Secret Service agent, the guy who was holding the supposed pen that was always following Hillary Clinton.
The EpiPen.
Well, pen. They said it was a pen, an ordinary pen. He was photographed with Hillary as far back as 2011. And people started noticing his strange behavior, him coming up to Hillary, whispering in her ear, that kind of thing. A lot of the things that the other Secret Service agents weren't doing. And then after all that critique, I don't see him in any of the photographs. I looked at 88 photographs from AP, I think it was, of the whole Nevada speech, and he wasn't there. There was a big guy that looked something like him, but it wasn't him.
Dave Weigel, who is the debunker in chief of the Washington Mockingbird,
Washington Post.
He's the guy who thoroughly debunked, absolutely destroyed in a series of sick burns, the idea that Hillary Clinton, or turquoise woman, as I keep thinking of her, that there's anything wrong with her health. And he just thoroughly debunked the idea that there's anything strange about this fellow, the Secret Service agent. Now, the Secret Service agents aren't identified for obvious reasons, but Dave Weigel supposedly identified him as Todd Madison. Yeah. Which sounds like it comes from the barrel of generic names. And I'm also thinking, there are a lot of black men in the United States named Todd. And is it really the habit of the Secret Service to employ agents who could be characterized as morbidly obese?
Yeah. Well, anyways, he disappeared. But of course, there was this whole Hillary and Bill and Hillary Clinton hit list that people have been talking about. So hence my joke. They came to Reno to bury Todd in the desert. So that's it. It's just paranoid conspiracy theorist joke. Okay. Of course, Todd has been spotted on Hillary's plane, so that kind of neutralizes my joke. Move on. Back to the speech.
Yeah, she begins by saying that her concern, it's not her concern. Everywhere I go, people tell me how concerned they are by the divisive rhetoric coming from my opponent in this election. This idea that Hillary Clinton, she's showing up on people's porches rather, just gabbing it up, with area men and women.
They do have there is a sequence of that where it looks like somebody put a railing
in the 15 minutes a day that she's not secure in her hyperbaric chamber.
Okay. All right.
No, this is, the giveaway here. The rhetorical giveaway here is divisive rhetoric, a.k.a. words I do not like. We've heard nothing like this before from a nominee for president of the United States, says the noted student of American history, Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump has built his campaign on prejudice and paranoia. Okay. He's taking hate groups mainstream and helping a radical fringe take over the Republican Party. His disregard for the values that make our country great is profoundly dangerous. Now, okay, are you going to list these values that make our country great?
No.
Oh, no, it gets funny. It gets funny really quickly, okay? That under the guise of outreach to African Americans, Trump has stood up in front of largely white audiences and described black communities in such insulting and ignorant terms. Quote, poverty, rejection, horrible education, no housing, no homes, no ownership, crime at levels nobody has seen. Right now, you walk down the street and get shot, unquote. Hillary continues, those are his words. But when I hear them, I think to myself, how sad. Donald Trump misses so much. He doesn't see the success of black leaders in every field, the vibrancy of black-owned businesses, the strength of the black church. He doesn't see the excellence of historically black colleges and universities, or the pride of black parents watching their children thrive. And he apparently didn't see Police Chief Brown on television after the murders of 5 of his officers, conducting himself with such dignity. He certainly doesn't have any solutions to take on the reality of systemic racism and create more equity and opportunity in communities of color and for every American. Now, you will have noticed the problem here that Donald Trump apparently grossly insulted the black community by saying or claiming that things were not so rosy at all. Yeah. And Hillary says exactly the opposite. It is just vibrant up the yin-yang, okay? But then,
it has to be fixed.
This is the point, with a movie or TV cliche where you get the scratch, right? Right? Well, wait. Solutions to take on the reality of systemic racism and create more equity and opportunity. Whoa. So which is it? Are black people thriving, or are they being crushed under the reality of systemic racism? This is why Trump is a superior politician, because pretty much all politicians play this trick. America, hell yeah. America is the beacon to the world. The whole world is jealous of America. America is great. It's always been great, the greatest, and it's greater now than it's ever been. On the other hand, here is a list of 167 things which must be done immediately to improve America.
Right. Yes. And
now Donald Trump wrote a book called Crippled America. You see, he's indicated right from the start that he believes that America has serious problems, and that justifies the profound changes that he wants to make. Hillary, one gets the impression with politicians like her that they have all of these ideas for changing things, because if they didn't, people would say, well, what is it that you do? How about not making things worse? That's pretty good. If a politician after 4 years, could go back to the people and say, okay, well, what are the accomplishments of your first term? Didn't make things worse. Yeah. I like the sound of that. Didn't make things worse.
Yeah. There's more to hope for than that. But anyways, we should continue on with the speech. It is a point that she's going to, I think, trip over from now till November, but anyways, continue on where she gets to the juicy stuff.
It's just a man with a long history of racial discrimination, this is Trump, who traffics in dark conspiracy theories drawn from the pages of supermarket tabloids. Oh, you mean like the dark conspiracy theory of the vast right-wing conspiracy? That you fucking dare accuse someone of trafficking in conspiracy theories when you actually posited a vast right-wing conspiracy?
Oh, yeah, but look a little farther down. And let's not forget, Trump first gained political prominence leading the charge for the so-called birthers.
Oh, I thought that it was Hillary's husband who first brought that up.
Well, husband, Trump, she's confused those people in the past, right? So, famously. Yeah, I know.
And she makes these claims about things that happen in Trump apartments and Trump casinos. I don't know the truth about this. There are constant lawsuits of this regard in the United States. I tend to discount them,
Right.
But I will point out that that Trump seems to have a lot of black friends. People say they have black friends, but most people don't, and that black people seem to like Donald Trump. I would suggest to you that who's that fellow with the hideous tattoo on his actual head?
Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson. that someone who hangs out with Mike Tyson, formerly the scariest black man alive, is a man who shall we say, is comfortable with black people?
Okay. I'll take that assessment at face value.
Yeah, in 2015, Trump launched his own campaign for president with another racist lie. He described Mexican immigrants as rapists and criminals. Yeah, he didn't say immigrants were rapists and criminals, you know.
I know.
And he accused the Mexican government of actively sending them across the border. None of that is true. Actually, they are actively sending them across the border, and they are doing everything they can to bully the American government into treating these people as American citizens and having the prerequisites associated with American citizenship, which they do not deserve, which they are not entitled to.
Sure, but this is not the first time a government has done that kind of thing. It's, remember the boat lift out of Cuba? A lot of countries have emptied their prisons. That's what the communist countries did as communism fell. You know, so it happens. They just flush out the prisons and send everybody over here.
Yeah.
So
okay, I like this jarring segue. Oh, and by the way, Mexico's not paying for his wall either. If it ever gets built, you can be sure that American taxpayers will be stuck with the bill. And then, but there has been a steady stream of bigotry. What's that butt doing in there? Why is there that butt? The butt would seem to indicate, okay, now we're going to say something a little different from what we were saying just earlier. Okay, and then the judge, he's a Mexican. Yeah, that's not exactly the argument. The argument is this fellow, belonged to La Raza, the race, that he was a Mexican before he was American. To this date, Trump has never apologized to Judge Curiel, and neither should he.
Never apologize.
Yeah, this is someone who retweets white supremacists online. You like the user who goes by the name White Genocide trademark. Trump took this fringe bigot with a few dozen followers and spread his message to 11 million people. You know, like in the same way that politicians do when they claim to have talked to Judy from Cedar Rapids. And Judy happened to suggest that, and the next thing you know, you're saying this at the State of the Union event. Yeah. So you are taking a fringe person with not even a few dozen followers and spreading this message to more than 11 million people. This idea that, everyone has to be vetted to how many degrees before you could agree with something that, this person says. Mm-hmm. Oh, his campaign famously posted an anti-Semitic image, a Star of David. Oh, shut the hell up.
That was a red star, wasn't it? As far as I know.
Don't
want to do it. Okay, it's just all
it's just too stupid. David Duke. Oh, he wouldn't disavow. David Duke. Well, as Box Day pointed out, disavow supporters. I'm sorry. How does that work? Mm. They're supporting him. He's not supporting them. When Trump was asked about anti-Semitic slurs and death threats coming from supporters, he refused to condemn them because he would do nothing else. And if Hillary Clinton were forced to deal with, shall we say, problematic things made by her supporters, she would do nothing else.
Yeah, but, this is, everybody's gone over this speech and trashed it pretty thoroughly. It doesn't really go a long ways to define the alt-right. It actually does a few weird things of misdirection. There's some misdirection here.
Actually, it does. That his latest paranoid fever dream is about my health. All I can say is, Donald, dream on. Yeah, okay. Alex Jones, who claims that 9/11, the Oklahoma City bombings were inside jobs. He even said, and this really is just so disgusting, he even said the victims of the Sandy Hook massacre were child actors and no one was actually killed there. Actually, that's not true. But as you know, and I used to be in the talk radio game. I used to be in the talk, I used to be a talk radio producer. You get all sorts of people saying all sorts of things on show. That's one of the things that talk radio deals in is controversy. So you have people, say controversial things. That doesn't mean that you agree with them.
Well, yeah, I know.
I suppose there's a wider argument that talk radio is irresponsible. in giving a platform for people with crazy ideas, but that's a topic for another time. In other words, this speech is poorly researched.
Yeah. She goes into David Duke's radio show, and I mean, nobody talks about that show on the alt-right that I've witnessed. I don't know. Am I reading the wrong stuff? She talks about Alex Jones. Well, I mean, more people pay attention to Paul Watson than Alex Jones, as far as I can tell, on the alt-right.
This woman is profoundly stupid. You know, I've stood by President Obama's side as he made the toughest decisions a commander-in-chief has to make. In times of crisis, our country depends on steady leadership, clear thinking, calm judgment, because one wrong move can mean the difference between life and death. You mean like at Benghazi, Hillary?
Yeah.
You mean then? Oh, the last thing we need in the Situation Room is a loose cannon who can't tell the difference or doesn't care to between fact and fiction. Oh, you mean, was there some sort of YouTube video that was responsible for the deaths of the diplomatic and military personnel of Benghazi? Isn't that the whopper that Hillary was peddling?
Yeah,
I call that, don't you?
I think there's whoppers built into this one. You know, I'm looking at one right here. The grand godfather of this global brand of extreme nationalism being identified as, you know, Vladimir Putin. You know, and then she talks about Nigel Farage and stuff like this. Well, you know, I mean, these are topic tangential, you know, but how does this define the alt-right? You know, I think this speech is the reason that we get that. Obviously, it shone a light on the alt-right, but that's also because it was so incorrect is why people started defining it. So what she did is prompt a response that is coalescing the movement in a way.
Well, no, he'd abolished the bedrock constitutional principle that says if you're born in the United States, you're an American citizen. Bedrock. I mean, you know, this is what's happened to our language. That people throw around words like foundation or foundational or bedrock. They don't know what it means. This idea that this birthright citizenship is what? A few decades old? It's hardly a bedrock principle. Mm. Oh, anchor babies, millions of anchor babies deported, millions of them. Oh, yeah, this is the same leadership that, we're going to bring in millions of refugees, millions of them. Apparently, there's no problem in bringing millions of people that can't be vetted from halfway around the world. It's getting rid of them. Mm. That's the problem. Yeah.
There's so much misdirection in this speech. You know?
There's one I want to okay. Under Donald Trump, America would distinguish itself as the only country in the world to impose a religious test at the border. Okay, Hillary, you might want to test that out next time you go to Israel or Saudi Arabia. Because there's a hell of a lot of religious tests in those two countries. I mean, I mentioned those two. One's Jewish, one's Islamic. No, I mean, it's just made up.
Yeah, I know.
This is just made up. And, I like this.
But it makes you wonder about the people that are actually putting this together, because I know Hillary didn't write this. I'm pretty sure of that. You know, did she focus group it? Did they focus group this? You know, I mean, this is written for very low information voters.
Well, I don't know that it's that low information, because we have a speech of several hundred words here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, and it's referring to dozens of different things, including
well, what? So there's lots of bullshit. You know, big deal.
Here's a few Breitbart headlines.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Why don't we go through the Washington Post or the New York Daily News? That would be a good example. I just run through a bunch of headlines from there. You know?
Yeah. Okay. So this, to me, really didn't define the alt-right. Now, earlier you had said that it actually did, and maybe you could explain to me why you think this speech defined it.
How this speech defined
the alt-right. You know.
Well, it defines what the alt-right isn't.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's not quite how I understood what you had said, but okay, I can.
Well, no, I mean it defines what it isn't, but it also kind of defines what it is. Okay. And I'll just give you an example. Let's go back to those Breitbart headlines. Birth control makes women unattractive and crazy. I'm going to have to think about that one. Would you rather your child had feminism or cancer? Again, tough choice. No, it's just that I'm going to say some shocking things which are going to move you to the depths of your soul. And having heard these shocking things, you will have no choice but to reject Trump and his simplistic evil and endorse my campaign. And lots of people are going to see this and say, what, that's it? That's what she's got? Yeah, I'm not... I thought that I would be shocked and appalled, but I'm really not shocked and appalled at all. Really not shocked and appalled at all. Oh, Nigel Farage, yes. You see, who stoked anti-immigrant sentiments to win the referendum to have Britain leave the European Union. Wow, you mean that we can stoke anti-immigrant sentiments to win political victories? Thanks for the heads up, Hillary. I mean, honestly, I appreciate that coming from you. That is quite an endorsement. Oh, and yeah, now we just, we head straight into a crazy town, Oh, it's all Putin. Someone was joking on Twitter today, by the end of this campaign, she is going to claim that the president of Mexico is a Putin stooge.
It prompted, I recall, a lot of tinfoil hat memes immediately after the speech, which I thought was a lot of fun.
Well, no, we're almost at the end here, and we head headlong into Orwellian territory here. That American presidents from Truman to Reagan have rejected the kind of approach Trump is taking on Russia. Let's see. Truman became president in 1945, which was, a year before Churchill's Cold War speech? Something like that. And, of course, Reagan left office in 1989, which was a year or two before the collapse of communism in Europe. Communism was also the collapse of a country called the Soviet Union, which no longer exists. So here she is conflating Russia with the Soviet Union. But this idea, what are we at war with Russia? We are not at war with Russia, of any kind of Russia. And we've had peace with Russia for a quarter century. But this is news to Hillary, apparently.
Yes, we still those darn Ruskies. We want a second Cold War. That's for sure. That seems to be what they're going. And that is a lot of people on the left actually note that about the alt-right. I've heard that from a few people that this is the one thing that troubles them, is the fact that Hillary seems to be for all war all the time, and this is not what they expected to see. But I have no trouble pointing out that the alt-right, as has been stated earlier in this show, taking from other people, that is what the type of thing they're opposed to. So,
well, now we reach the point of the speech, which I will call the comedy stylings of Hillary Rodham Clinton. We know who Trump is. A few words on a teleprompter won't change that. He says he wants to make America great again. But more and more it seems, though, his real message seems to be make America hate again. Get it? Get it? You see what I did there?
Give me a beat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next time you see Trump rant on television, think about all of the children. Yes, won't someone please think of the children? Listening across America, kids hear a lot more than we think. Parents and teachers are already worried about what they're calling the Trump effect. Is there nothing that this man can't accomplish? Nothing. Again, comedy stylings. At a recent high school basketball game in Indiana, white students held up Trump signs and taunted Latino players on the opposing team with chants of "Build the wall" and "Speak English." Latino, I thought they were called Hispanics, but I don't know. I don't know.
You can only use
we wouldn't
Hispanic so
tolerate
many
this
times
kind,
in a speech.
we wouldn't tolerate this kind of behavior, and we wouldn't tolerate it in our own homes, as opposed to the kinds of things that Hillary Clinton tolerates in her own home.
Let's not talk about that stuff.
Yes, yes, yes. There is a moment for every Republican dismayed that the party of Lincoln has become the party of Trump. Oh, the party of Lincoln. Let's go back to those good old Lincoln days when the United States fought a civil war in which 1 million people died. Now, I'll explain that 1 million sounds like a lot, right? But keep in mind that the population of the United States was much, much smaller then. You know?
Yeah. So, yes, high percentage.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and okay, so now Bob Dole, good guy. George W. Bush, good guy. John McCain, good guy.
Why didn't you vote for them, Democrats?
Yeah, yeah. So, I'm old enough to remember that they're all racist, terribly, terribly nasty people who were living in the past and didn't understand the wonderful new vibrant America. But now they are on the list of good guys. And this is really great stuff for the alt-right because it's saying that, these are not your guys. Bob Dole, George W. Bush, John McCain, not our guys because they are Hillary approved.
Yeah, I think that you're right at this point in the speech. This is where she does a fine job of defining the alt-right by what it's not. So, yes, there is that built into the speech. But we got to get on to a few other things here if we're going to shove them into this hour, a few other major things. One major thing that is hotly debated all over the alt-right, and it comes up all the time, and that is the JQ, the Jewish question. And I will note that you have sent me an article here from a Joshua Seidel?
Something like that.
I'm a Jew, and I'm a member of the alt-right.
Mm-hmm.
I actually quite like this article. It, he talks about the resistance to certain things. This is what attracted him to the movement, and he just when he encounters the anti-Semitism, he just lets it run off like water off a duck kind of thing, and keeps going. Anyways, do you want to address this directly, or do you want me to continue with this article?
Well, I like the article too. Mm-hmm. But I have to say, it rather reminds me of an article you might be familiar with, which appeared in Alberta Report, in the early 90s? It was called Confessions of a Reform Party Jew.
Oh,
remember that article?
I know what it was referred to. I don't think I was around when it was written, though. So I can't say that I specifically recall the text. You referred to it quite a bit, but pray continue. Yeah.
No. This Seidel seems like quite a good chap, Mm-hmm. But see, this is a terrible situation. I really don't like this situation myself. It's really unfortunate that this has happened. This idea that I ask myself, do I want Jews in the alt-right? Well, of course I do. A great many Jews are highly intelligent and well motivated and verbally adept, etc., etc. Mm-hmm. The problem is entryism leading to a takeover. We saw this with the neoconservatives. I believe it was in something like 1971 that National Review had a famous unsigned editorial about the neoconservatives called "Come On In, the Water's Fine." Now, 2 decades after that, the neoconservatives had taken over the conservative movement and effectively said, you people who were there from the beginning, you think that conservative means this, this, and this? Well, no, it doesn't. Actually, what it means is going to war for Israel.
Yeah.
And if you don't agree with that, get the hell out.
Yeah, and it's not called neoconservatism. It's called conservatism now.
Yeah, actually, don't get the hell out. We're evicting you. Mm-hmm. I don't. You see, you look at someone like this fellow Dutch politician Wilders.
Geert
Wilders. Yeah. This guy has been a tremendous champion of Israel for a long, long time. Where's it gotten him? Mm-hmm. Nowhere.
Still called a racist and
yes,
anti-Semite,
of course,
and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Now, I would just,
Well, the reason I bring it up is it seems this is the thing that they will use to shore up. We've seen the entry of the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, into the debate. And I will say to Kevin, called it. Anyways.
Yeah.
I did. We actually posted an old article of Kevin's on his website, The Ambler, that he wrote back in 2004 about the Southern Poverty Law Center at my insistence, because I said, this is going to come up. And sure enough, it did. So anyways.
Well, no, I mean, this article appeared in the foreword, which I find amusing because some years ago, the foreword wrote a piece about me. Several thousand words all about me.
You?
I won't go into yes, about me. That I was one of the worst people alive.
Oh, wow.
And that I was a
we're going to link to that. I
was very, very serious threat to the world's Jews because of an article that I'd written on kosher food. It's just too stupid to go into. Okay. But I don't know. Apparently, there were a bunch of comments in one of these places. This article appeared with people saying very nasty things about Joshua Seidel. Which I find is unfortunate.
Yeah. Well,
that's all I can say. But again, this idea of supporting a movement leading to a takeover of the movement, it's a concern because, as I say, it has happened before. That, I mean, we say, if you want to talk about the Reform Party leading to the Canadian Alliance, leading to the Conservative Party of Canada, already with the Canadian Alliance under Stockwell Day, it was Israel, 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 and if you don't like Israel, we have Israel. And this is what happened after the right in Canada decided that it was going to become the most pro-Jewish or pro-Zionist party, that suddenly everything became about Israel. I would think that the alt-right position on Israel would be, held by most people on the alt-right, is that Israel's not particularly important to us. They have their country, we have ours. Now, I don't need to remind you that a great many people on the alt-right, and not just on the alt-right, look at someone like Benjamin Netanyahu and think, yeah, I wish we had a leader like that. Because he's just doing what's good for his country, and he's not apologizing for it.
Yeah, I do see a lot of that. Well, Israel's an ethno state. Why can't we have an ethno state? Israel has a wall. Why can't we have a wall? That type of comment I see quite a bit of.
I would, people have posited this idea of an exchange. This goes back 20, 25 years, something like this. Here's how it works. I was very much in favor of this myself. I stopped talking about it because no one was buying. Okay, it goes like this. That the right says, okay, we're going to go to the mat for Israel. Palestinians, we don't care. Occupied territories, housing settlements, go right ahead. We're not going to object. Not our country, right? It's your country. You do what you like. This is what you're going to do for us. We have this position of Canada for the Canadians, America for the Americans, England for the English, etc., etc. And you people are going to get on board with that. We support your ethno-state. You support ours. It's never gone anywhere. It has never gone anywhere. So, my position on this, as much as I would dearly love to see the consummation of what should be a natural alliance between the supporters of the right everywhere in the West and the supporters of Israel, I don't think it's going to happen.
And that is a topic for another 3-hour show, perhaps longer. Yeah, I remember when I was news editor for the Alberta Report website, I consciously avoided headlines that had anything to do with Israel, and I explained that to a Jewish friend and acquaintance once, and he was astonished. I explained, well, I just don't know what the hell to think about this, so, it has nothing to do with us. I'm just going to ignore it. But, it's the Jewish question has entered into this whole alt-right thing. Some people have written to me defining it as the critical element of the the alt-right, one of the pillars, right?
How is it a pillar?
Simply that you have to be anti-Semitic in order to be on the alt-right. I mean, it's that they pretty much put it that baldly. And I don't know. The interviews that I've done, this question has come up. Yeah.
I don't want to give the people the impression that I am in favor of cartoons about people being put in gas chambers, or even that I find this amusing. But this is what happens when you're not allowed to have a proper, rational discussion. Mm-hmm. This is what happens when people who say, I like my country and I don't want it deliberately destroyed, for instance, through the importation of millions of people who are alien and are chosen for being deliberately alien, mm-hmm. and that you get accused of being a Nazi for saying things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, you end up with cartoon frogs as well. And that's where we're at here. Maybe we could finish off with you describing what an old Southern Poverty Law Center donor might make of the alt-right. You really had me in stitches the other day when we were talking about
it's, the SPLC, what they do is that they scare old people, in particular old Jewish people. This idea that, they're going to start building death camps in Dubuque, right? Yeah. They're all going to be hauled away. And that, the KKK, they're massing. The KKK, they're rising in numbers. They're everywhere. They're going to be burning a cross on your lawn next. Now, the last time that the KKK was actually popular in the United States was before the Second World War, right? And since the 1960s, it's basically been a bunch of government agents, But the SPLC has raised hundreds of millions of dollars by terrorizing old people, mostly Jews, with the threat of racism and horrible,
from the 30s.
Murderous anti-Semitism, and the pictures of, KKK. And I just imagine that the SPLC trying to fundraise off the rise of the alt-right. And so, Mrs. Goldberg opens her letter, her fundraising letter from the SPLC, and she sees a bunch of pictures of cartoon frogs. And she puts the letter down, and she rests her elbow on the table, and then she rests her head in the palm of her hand and thinks, well, I knew this day was coming. I hoped it wouldn't come as soon as it has. That apparently I can no longer distinguish between reality and fantasy. That, where there should be pictures, of Nazi death camps or Klan members burning crosses, there's all these pictures of cartoon frogs. Why are cartoon frogs wearing SS uniforms? Why would a frog be wearing an SS uniform? Is this frog supposed to be, are frogs sinister? I never thought that frogs were sinister, and I really think that it's time for me to give up politics. That, I don't even know if there would be any point in me trying to keep up. For all I know, I've been sending these guys a check every month for years. Maybe it wasn't a check. Maybe I was slipping crackers in the envelope.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. But yeah, that's Pepe is the symbol of faith of the alt-right. He cannot be explained.
Well, you heard that when Hillary first mentioned the alt-right, the speech, someone in the audience yelled out, "Pepe!"
Yeah, became a hero.
He was then, no pun intended, frog marched from the room.
Yeah, you see that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that the under 20s or the under 30s like so much. That kind of on the spot rebellion. I anticipate more of that happening, actually.
Well, no, you see, one of the things the alt-right is doing has been very successful at is scrambling the brains of its opponents. That you saw this first with Pepe, which was a meme long before the alt-right took it up.
Right, yeah.
And then you see this with Harambe, the martyred silverback gorilla, right?
Right, yeah.
And the New York Times had an article about Harambe and Harambe's posthumous apotheosis, and pointing at, well, the sadness that, that certain deep, dark corners of the internet, they've decided to what? They've decided to take over the world using the memory of a dead gorilla. Is that what they're planning? That I mean, you really make your, I was joking with Jared Taylor that, it's rather something to behold when Pod Jr. loses it, when someone calling himself, Adolf was right, 1488, gets into it. But, people are now losing it over cartoon frogs and pictures of a dead gorilla.
Yeah, I know this is really wonderful stuff. It's a great time to be alive, as we like to say.
No, it is a great time to be alive. And this idea that, you called us racists, and, oh, no, we're going to start sobbing quietly. We're retired to our rooms and consider the error of our ways. Mm-hmm. But there's no utility in this anymore. And again, thanks to Hillary Clinton. Thank God for Hillary Clinton, because the fact that this wicked woman, this epitome of corruption, this woman with the blood-stained hands, what, she is the enemy? She is the person leading the charge against us?
Yeah, it couldn't be written better, that's for sure.
I have argued for quite some time that really what counts in politics, well, especially in our degenerate age, is it's not how good you are so much as how bad the other guy is.
In this case.
And with Hillary Clinton, it could not be any worse. I mean, what is it? Name one good thing about this woman. Name one good thing about her.
She's a real smart dresser.
Yeah. Yep. She is rocking those science fiction styles from the 1960s. I gotta say that. I mean, it's like, I don't know. Is this from an unpublished Rudy Gernreich collection, circa 1967?
Yeah, but no, we can't make jokes about her health. Imagine that, her health. Well, anyways, I think that we have defined ourselves as best we can for the time being, and probably.
No, I'll say one last thing, that we are defining ourselves as winning. Okay.
All right.
We are defining ourselves as gaining ground and not merely holding ground.
Right. Okay.
This idea of being in an offensive posture counts for so much, because the right, well, the new right, as they used to call it, the conservative movement, is really based on the idea of losing, and that was baked into the cake. Going back to the foundation of the new right and National Review, that there was a trade-off, that it's all about the Cold War and fighting communism, so the left wants A to Z, and we'll give them A to Z just so long as they support us against the communists. Now, I grew up in that era, and it is more depressing than I care to explain. We lost that one. Yeah, we lost that one, all right. But we put up a hell of a fight. Yeah, I guess we put up a hell of a fight. By the way, why do we put up any kind of a fight at all if it's preordained that we're going to lose? Shh, don't talk like that. Don't talk like that. Well, why not? Well, if people hear this, then the whole thing will fall apart. Yeah, and what if it does fall apart? Who joins a movement to lose?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you who does. Corrupt people do. And we are not fighting to lose any more. One final word, which is that if I had to choose one word to define the alt-right, it would be very simple. It would be reality.
Okay, yeah. You did make that mention of that. And I think that's a good good sort of philosophical place to put it right now because it's not that specific. And I think that alt-right is just sort of a transitory term, that there's going to be some kind of definition based on this type of thing that's coming out right now from people like The Right Stuff and Chateau Artiste and Vox Day. It'll coalesce into something, and it probably won't be called the alt-right because the right will be disposed of, or the conservatives will be disposed of. So right might not be the way to...
No, right is a good word. It's the conservative that's the bad word, because what are they conserving?
Okay, well, do you think right will stick around then? I mean, when it's the mainstream view, it's no longer alt. That's, I guess, what I was trying to imply here.
Well, I don't know. Don't we have a party in this country called the New Democratic Party?
Okay, yes.
Given that there wasn't an old Democratic Party, that remains a mystery to me. You know, this party's over 50 years old, right?
Yes, but we also had a party called the Progressive Conservatives. So...
Yeah, well, I won't go into that. But, I mean, this is a problem. You have these movements, you know, like the Bossa Nova, right? The new thing. Well, how long would, you know, Bossa Nova have to be around before it was no longer Nova?
Okay. Yeah, it becomes an eponym. Anyway, so I think that we can probably call an end to this podcast, the end of episode 52 of Grace and Steel. I'd like to thank the alt-right supporter who goes by the Twitter handle Rival Thoughts, who provided our theme music for this show. Rival Thoughts has created several very good short segments of music that he's offering to alt-right podcasters free of charge to use as intros and outros as his way of helping the cause. We'll listen to his lovely Brian Enowish prog rock piece here as he plays us out. I'm Kevin Steele.
And I'm the ever stalwart Kevin Michael Grace.